John Kerry on the Tea Party.
And I have to tell you, I say this to you politely, the media in America has a bigger responsibility than it's exercising today. The media has got to begin to not give equal time or equal balance to an absolutely absurd notion just because somebody asserts it.
Never heard anything like it. Brad Thor is here with us talking about a seemingly unrelated topic, but we'll tie it together here and see if Brad agrees. He has a new book out. It's a thriller called Full Black. It really is. It could be the last 2 years of my work on Fox News tied together all in a storyline form so you understand it, but it's not that, because this is anything that sounds like it's really happening, like any kind of current people, like
total
Soros.
Coincidence.
Complete pure
coincidence.
fiction, total coincidence. With an exception of some things that obviously are very real. And I wrote Brad this weekend and said, please tell me that tips and promise are not real. He just explained promise. Now explain what tips is.
Okay, so Promise, as I've said, was like the Terminator. And if Promise is the Terminator, then Tips is Skynet, the artificial intelligence force behind the Terminator, directing the Terminator, telling it what to do. So what ended up happening was, since we built a back door that allow us to spy on anybody who took Promise into their intel agency, any of our allied partners, there was a company. I had to change it in the book, Glenn. It is not called TIP, Total Intelligence Paradigm. One of my guys who led me to this thing and laid it out for me, when he read the book, he said, you can't put this in there. He said, it will track right back to me. You got to call it something else. So I changed the name. Anyway, what TIPS is, what it's based on, is a real software system where they took the Promise system and gave it a brain. They gave it artificial intelligence so that this thing could not only hunt for data, it could anticipate. If there was information about an attack that the government was afraid was going to happen, this thing would start going through its citizenry, trying to figure out which of the citizens were best equipped and most likely to commit whatever crime it is that the government or the intel agency thought was going to be committed.
We're down to Minority Report.
That's exactly what it is. I was told by one of my sources that they actually had a successful apprehension of a subject using this new software, and that the government in question, who had sponsored the building of this software, it's not ours, it is in the Western world, was giddy beyond belief that now all they needed to do was somebody to whisper during an interrogation that something might be about to happen, and they set this thing loose on its own populace. It's terrifying.
Brad, I talked to some people at Google who are quite frankly afraid of Google. Google is a fine company. It's done a lot of great things. It's a great search. That's the only search engine that really works. But if you read in the Plex?
In the Plex.
Yeah, if you read that and you read it with a mind of the future, if you've ever read any Ray Kurzweil, The Age of Spiritual Machines is one that everybody should read. If you've ever read any Ray Kurzweil, who is a futurist, who is works for Google and Microsoft and everything else, and then you read in the Plex, they're creating artificial intelligence, and they're with our government.
Glenn, I will even take you in another direction on the same thing. I would say that if you're recommending that people read those two books, they also need to read Search and Destroy, which is a real scathing expose of Google. Search and Destroy, great book. Listen, when we talk about tips, the thing that's frightening here is that Google has partnered up with the NSA, and what they're trying to do is create their own Skynet, and what they're using is the millions of searches on Google every day. How you search, what you ask a question, when you go to that Google search toolbar and you punch in your question for what you're looking on the net, that is teaching this artificial intelligence thing that Google is building how to think. They're trying to teach this artificial brain how to think like people. And I got to tell you, Google's done some great things, but I have a real problem with a company whose motto is don't be evil, but their mascot is a T-Rex.
I have a real problem with any company that is in bed with the United States government.
Absolutely.
There's no. I'm sorry. Private companies are private companies. When you're in bed with the United States government as tightly as Google is, and you're doing things as spooky as Google. I mean, there's a reason why Google is getting kicked out or coming under economic fire in almost every country in the world. I mean, all these countries are saying, hey, this goes against civil rights. This goes against privacy. You can't do these things. Here's our country is sending that stuff over to other countries. It's frightening stuff.
It's not only frightening, Glenn, but there's one step in this whole, when we talk about the promise system.
Hold on, because we'll get to that here in just a second. And what do you say to people who say, oh, it's no big deal? That next.
Have you found the last two?
Not yet.
But we believe we're close.
And they still don't know we're hunting them.
You believe you're
Close.
They're 2 children in a billion. Finding them is like finding a lost chopstick in China.
Is that what you want me to tell the board?
Remind the board that I've already found 15 of 17 children.
Just a matter of time before we
Time
find
isn't on our side. Those kids are already too old. You know how
difficult they are to turn at this age.
I know better than anyone. But I have my ways. And if they don't turn, there's always cell 25.
Yes, there's always cell 25.
My name is Michael Vey, and there's something you don't know about me. Something that scares people more than you would believe. It's my secret, and it's part of the story I'm about to tell you. I've always thought I was the only one in the world like this, but I'm not. There are other kids like me, and someone or something is hunting us. I don't know what they want. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I think they've found me.